And one thing that came to my mind, it's very obvious, were the above ground risers for all the utilities that are there.
Oh yeah,
I think,
all the way up that road.
I think, quite frankly, I think that's more of a physical impediment than the road condition, because the way they're staggered and the way they're located.
Well, what we ought to do,
can't interfere with those.
yeah, but what we can do is do like they do out in Colorado, where you have snow and you can't see the fire hydrants. You just go out there and put in a lath that's 5 feet high with a ribbon on it, you know they're there. That's the easy way to do that.
Oh, no, I mean, they're visible, it's just a matter of how.
Sometimes they're not visible because of the
Vegetation.
the vegetation, you can't see it. Anyway, that's Area 9 concerns me getting that done. Second thing, this is kind of a generic. One of these days, we're gonna have to get into looking at these ponds, the flowways, and the issue of dredging and the issue of aeration. While we were doing 124, there was a very, right in the picture of where the golf course area is, that little narrow, it's probably 500-foot long opening. The barge got hung up. That channel, as I recall, on the original drawings back from Johnson Engineering back in the 80s, that was to be 12 to 16 feet deep. It's 5. It's 5.
Just a flat bottom barge got hung up?
Yeah. Flat bottom barge got hung up, and so did the stone barges get hung up. I had suggested to Danny the possibility of dredging it while we're there, but he reminded me that we have to go through South Florida Water Management District for a permit. Well, that'll take forever to get that done. But I think pointing it out, that area is a channel that where the velocity increases, certainly because of the flow rate. That would be the last place I would have expected a siltation buildup. But what it's telling me is if it's bad there, Katie bar the door on what we find on the large wide lakes where the velocity drops and the material settles down. So that's an issue. The other one, I talked to Chris a little bit about this, and that's this pond littoral maintenance. I brought it up at the last meeting. We had a complaint from a guy in Hampton Park about it. And I think the issue is that does our current contract with Aquagenics have any littoral maintenance requirement whatsoever?
Well, it does have littoral maintenance requirements, but it is not spelled out lake by lake and DO by DO. Their maintenance is basically
generic.
Keep them generic, keep the exotics out, keep them trimmed back. But where we have a littoral shelf that's grown to 22 feet in width, and the DO calls for 14 feet, that is not addressed in that contract. It is a
So the only way to get around this is for 64 ponds, the next time we go out for bid, we're going to have to go back and rewrite the specification to be inclusive of the DO for each of those, or describe it.
Well, and we have since put together a lake by lake DO requirement list with all that information. And what we were planning on doing is giving that to George at Aquagenics and asking him for a price and bringing it in during our budget discussion. And I'll remind,
because that's going to change the number.
Well, and I'll remind when they had the bid from Aquagenics, it's been very consistent at about $128,000 a year. And we had another bidder that was in at $340,000. And my question to him is, why are you so much higher? And he goes, this is what it's going to take to do the job right. And not saying that Aquagenics isn't, please don't think that, but again, when they come in and do maintenance, they maintain what they find there. So if the littoral was 23 feet wide, the DO says 18 feet wide, they're going to maintain what was there. So, and for an example, I did get a cost from them to remove the littorals in the pond in excess of what the DO requirements were. Yeah. And mind you, this is the smallest pond in Hampton Park, and the littorals are not wide, and it was $5,800 to do the smallest pond in Hampton Park. So it's all a level of service, and if you wanted to extrapolate that to the linear feet, you may spend $200,000 in Hampton Park alone.
Doesn't surprise me one iota.
No, but
we've never done it.
We're going to get the price from George and bring it back, and instead of waiting until the 3-year contract, we'll bring it out during the budget and look at that level of service. And that may be something Hampton Park may even entertain, because we mentioned the meeting with them. It's all about a level of service, and the level of service in Hampton Park may not be the same as throughout Gateway.
Madam Chairman, may I ask Mr. Tinkle a question? not questioning the veracity of what you said. But if you are correct that there's all kinds of buildup in those, in that flowway channel.
Oh, going back to the sediment?
Yeah, okay, may I just go back here for a second?
Yeah.
You said, as I recall, that we can't do anything because we'd have to get permission from South Florida and that would take forever, da-da-da-da-da-da. The residents of this district are relying upon us to do what has to be done in our best advice, in our best interest of the residents. You may be right in what you said, but if we have another terrible storm, the residents aren't going to be very happy if they hear from us or you that either we didn't request a permit from South Florida to do what you described, or that South Florida wouldn't approve it, or whatever number of reasons. I.e., what I'm getting to is, if we've got a job to do, and you've convinced me pretty much that we do, I think we ought to get with it now.
Well, the first step, and I totally agree, but the first step really to do it right is to get the bathymetric studies to know the seriousness of the, in other words, it shows the bottom, the contours of the bottom. Then we'll know what the level of effort, because if we just go to South Florida, we don't have anything to support us other than the fact that the crane got stuck, and when he stuck the crane down in it, it was 5 feet deep.
But well,
So the
I understand that
bathymetrics,
that's not a bathymetric study, but that's pretty darn good evidence that it isn't the way it's supposed to be.
it's very good evidence that it does not appear to be the way it was designed or built. So I would totally say that if we could take and get staff to start putting together a proposal of getting a bathymetric study we've got 65 lakes, but we've had, I'm gonna say 8 or 10 of our bathymetric studies done. But the rest of them, including the flowway, have never been touched.
Would you submit that the flowway is more important than all of the ponds put together?
Yeah. For
Symbiotic.
two reasons. One, it carries the water, and two, it's our last opportunity to clean the water before it goes out. So it needs both the aeration and the littorals along that major flowway, and God only knows what the chemical constituents of that crap is that's in the bottom of those things.
What, the particular area that you're talking about, where is that located?
I'd start at
I'm just talking about where it got stuck, where.
Oh, that's on that picture that Danny had in Pond 124, in that 315 foot?
In that
Right
area?
there, right
Okay.
there. Yeah, it's a major restriction.
Isn't there
Yeah.
something that we can do to get going?
Well, the first thing you do is do a bathymetric on that lake and then immediately go to South Florida. But Bill, I'm concerned about starting at Pelican Preserve, where we dump into Pelican Preserve. And Chris is addressing that with the flowway widening project that we just approved. We got a liability of going from Gateway Greens over to Pelican Preserve. This project will take care of it. We have a liability of Stony Brook into Gateway Greens. We're taking care of that. But the rest of the way back through our main flowway, we've never done anything. Never done anything. And all of our water flows through that area.
Madam Chairman, I'm not gonna say another word, but you know where I'm coming
Yeah,
from.
we need to have a big picture and know what we need to tackle.
What's coming next is that I don't want to take and address this and then skip the flowway, because as far as I'm concerned, from the point of discharge into 6 Mile Cypress, all the way back the flowway, that entire flowway needs to be in a position to handle the water that we would get from any type of a storm event. So I wouldn't just stop it at Gateway Greens, I'd take the
Right.
flowway
Has
right
to
on
be-
down through flowway 2 and 3, or 3, 2, and 1 into Pelican Preserve and on out to I-75. And the best way to start that is, and maybe this is the way to do it, is just get the bathymetric proposal for that flowway right off the bat.
Well, isn't there, yes, I mean, I agree with that. I also think that
You okay?
if there are things that we can do as far, I'm sure there's some general maintenance, and almost some maybe risk mitigation, leeway in being able to go in and do some work. Is there things that we can do that might fall within?
You mean like dredging?
Well, let's just leave it very open to say if there is things that we need to do from a maintenance that prohibits or mitigates potential flow issues, especially right now, you know, as we come to the rainy season. Other things that we could do
Clean
that
the
would
sewer.
fall within maintenance
Clean
that
the
we wouldn't
sewers
have
is
to
a
get
big one.
permits for.
Cleaning
Or-
the sewers is our next Achilles heel, and we're doing that. All the pipes that had the blockage of greater than, what was it, 30% are going to be addressed. So that gets the water, but you gotta keep in mind, that's also a good news, bad news. It clears those pipes so that the water that's up above them gets down into the flowway quicker. So we just gotta watch to make sure that we're not getting this thing down to where we're creating and moving the problem from
Well, and I'm
one
talking
to another.
Yeah, and I'm talking about specifically in some of the maybe some of the flowways. I'm being ambiguous in general. Kind of on purpose to say if there's things that we need to do,
Well,
let's do them within our maintenance range.
I don't know that any maintenance deals or practices that we could do at this point in time to address a sedimentation problem. I just don't know anything.
To address a what?
Sedimentation problem.
Sedimentation.
I don't know what else we could do. Because we have two issues. One, it's an unknown quantity. And more importantly, I'm concerned about is what we've done for 30 years. Is
Or not
what is
done.
it, or not done. What is it chemically? The last thing I wanna do is get in there and all that copper sulfate that we have dumped in there for years and years and years, that's setting on the bottom, that you disturb it and you've got a mess.
You're
So
talking
the
about the
first-
flowway?
Yes, because that's where it's all going, it's metals, it's gonna end up down there in a low spot. We need to know how bad it is, because the first thing you do is if you go dredge it, you're gonna find a lot of places won't even take it. They won't even take it. So I think we've got some work to do, and rather than starting at the ponds upstream, start with the flowway, find out what we've got and how serious the problem is.
And we have, from a maintenance standpoint, you know, had all the pipes under Griffin and Gateway checked, and they were actually in excellent shape, and I think because the hurricane scoured them all clean, because of the velocities that went through.
But we
so-
also cleaned them because of the road transfer.
Sure.
We had to clean those pipes first. So, or we didn't, WCI had to, on their
Did you
components.
have anything else under
That's all.
supervisor comments?
Yeah.
Mr. Banks?
Just a couple things. Hey, Chris, just following up on the bocce ball request.
And I haven't got any movement, it's right on the top of the folder on my desk, but we're gonna put together an RFP, and we'll have that out by the next meeting to get the cost from the contractor, and we're also making an application to the county, because with the impact fees that are available, that'll be paid for, and I think it's gonna be about a $24,000 project total. And that includes having a couple benches there with it.
Yeah, maybe some shade. And we're looking at, we have room for two?
Two.
Two? Yeah, okay, awesome. So did have a chance to, I was in Tampa 2 weeks, and they have like a Splitsville, it's like a head pins, a bowling alley, and we went on a Friday night, like 7:30 with Cooper and some of his soccer team. And of course, all the lanes were filled up. So the lady says, well, we've got a bocce ball court available. And it was indoors. And so we played for 2 hours. We had an absolute blast. So I may have to find a team to join.
The country club put in 2 bocce and 2 pickleball, and the bocce is unbelievable.
Now, are they using round balls or the oblong?
Round balls.
Okay, because at this, it was funny. In this indoor course, they used oblong. So it creates a little bit of inconsistency if you've got just a flat surface.
Yeah, right.
No, well, it's like like this. So you basically try to roll on the consistent side, but Anyway.
But it was on a wood floor instead of a.
It was almost like what we have. It was.
So ours is on clay courts, like a tennis.
It had an
court.
artificial turf on top, and then almost like railroad.
Railroad ties.
Yeah,
On the edge.
on the edges. Yeah. Wasn't
You
real
can
fancy. but it
start
was
your
nice.
own team and
There's,
stuff.
I mean,
I could start my own team with my own family. What are you talking about?
That's true.
It's
I can have 3 teams of 2 with my
It's
own family.
unbelievable how popular
So,
they are. It's
yeah,
unbelievable.
it was pretty cool. So I just, I have a newfound like excitement for it. So anyway, I know that this is probably not the best thing from a spin perspective, but I know that the fountain that when you come in to Gateway on the left, the one that we don't turn on anymore, was that non-functional and we just decided not to fix it?
Yeah, it's basically behind the charter school,
Yeah.
the fountain there, yeah, and we just looked at it from aesthetic purpose and
It's all
thought,
it is,
well, if the
aesthetics.
charter school wants a fountain, they asked about it.
Yeah, yeah. And I wasn't thinking there, but it kind of leads into the next piece that I have, which is, as we're starting to get into thinking about budget for next year, and we've got a lot of stuff, a lot of infrastructure, things that are with us, we do need to balance that a little bit and have a certain percentage of the budget that is focused on just aesthetic improvements, things that are for the community that people can see. You can't see flowway cleaning. You might be able to see some of the lake work if you live on a lake, but as you're driving down Gateway Boulevard or Griffin or one of these areas, I think we need to put a percentage in the budget for things. We do landscaping, and I think the landscaping looks great, but there's always opportunities there. But I just wanted to think about what are some of the things that we could do annually that would be visible to the residents. Those are the things that I think they're either appreciated. And I know that, like, I think we had a conversation, I can't remember who brought it, might have been Tish when he was here, about updating the entrance to Gateway, and it was pretty expensive. And at the time, we had bigger fish to fry, but those are the types of things. I mean, our entrance, at least the front entrance, the back of Stony Brook, I think is fine. It might need maybe a little bit of updating, but we haven't touched those in a long time. I know now that we've, I don't know, wouldn't say take it over, but even when you go to the communities or is it Common Lakes or wherever, the entrance monument signs, I mean, they haven't been touched. They're completely outdated, and it's an expense. But we need to be planning and thinking about how can we always continue to improve the aesthetics of Gateway as well as the infrastructure and
As I recall, when we had that discussion, this was back November, maybe, February, something like that. We got talking about the fees for doing this kind of work, and then the question came up of what, for example, would the monuments cost to bring them up? And I think the number was $500 million. And I recall that discussion went south real quick.
Yeah.
But you could update what's there, like at Daniels, at the Daniels entrance. I wouldn't do probably anything with the Griffin Drive until State Road 82 is completed, because
Yeah.
it'd just be silly to do anything before that. But you could update the one at Daniels and Gateway to look more like similar, only smaller, to the one that's at the other end of Gateway. Just
Yeah, I mean, and that's the-
update
I
it
mean-
and make it look a little
Well, the
better.
Stony Brook entrance with the gateway on it is one hell of a more, better look
Yeah.
than the ones coming in any place else
Yeah,
in Gateway.
and I think as long as if we stay consistent with that theme, I even think the one on
Like the
82,
flagstone.
Yeah.
could
It
use
could
some
look
additional
better.
things, but the one coming in is just, we don't want to become an outdated community. When you look at how many new developments, I mean, you go down Tree Line, just alone, our competition is there primarily, and you've got really great amenities. You've got entrances with fountains, and I mean, it just looks really good to come into. And I just think, again, I don't want to spend millions and millions of dollars here because we just don't have that money, but it is something that we need to be thinking about. What's that plan? What's that revitalization or that, continuous
You could make
aesthetic
subtle
improvements?
improvements that wouldn't cost a fortune.
Yeah, so it's
but
just something
look
for us to
better.
think about, and that's all that I have.
Mr. Guy?
In the major items, we still got lots of potholes this road out here. You told me that they were gonna be fixed 2 months ago, and they aren't.
I have a contractor that was gonna do the work and it kind of fell apart, but I'll get back on it. And if need to, we'll just have our staff go out there and fill the holes.
Costs a lot of money to do the alignment on some of these automobiles.
As soon as the, and part of it, along what you're saying, as soon as the construction here is done, why can't we just throw in this budget, because we already talked the 500,000. Why don't we use and get a price from one of the paving deals and pay from the entrance off of Griffin back to where, it's just right on, beyond the cut down here, where it's nice, and just replace that.
I'll get a quote from it, and I have Vanessa's gonna come out and do some assessments on the road
Vanessa's
for the
doing all
turnover,
this.
but I'll ask them. And part of that problem is, and we did approach them, OAK and the county, is because they're the ones running the heavy trucks up and down the road. They're equipment trucks.
Mhm.
I mean, heavy trucks coming in and out of there, chemical deliveries.
Going back there.
Yeah, and we approached them about some cost share, and they both wanted nothing to
Quid
do
pro
with it.
quo.
Well, maybe a dump site for a little paving, to the
Yeah,
wastewater plant.
exactly.
Just go out there and put in speed bumps high enough to where it's over it. Solve it.
And Bill, if you don't mind, can I piggyback on just?
Sure.
With the budget of the building coming in, I can't remember if we also included, a new gate system.
We have a gate system in the budget, an automatic gate, and we were kind of looking to see what happened with the storage facility, because that was part of it, is these non-employees, people coming in and out, and they could have a code that would identify who was coming in and out of the gate.
Because I addressed it once before, and I think regardless of whether we move ahead with the storage unit or not, I think adding this, this new building and looking to change things around, I almost think that we're at a point where we may have to at least put a temporary close on the storage parking out here. So again, you need to give people probably at
We
least
ought to be
60
giving people notice that
Right.
in some 90 days.
August 1st.
Yeah, or well,
Yeah, I mean,
August 1st we would
so,
have done it.
I almost, that's what I'm saying, I'd almost say
Yeah, we're
now,
telling them now.
because of, existing work and liability and whatever that's happening here, the district is, gonna temporarily close the storage facility.
I'd say permanently closed.
Well, permanently
If we
close here,
close it,
Subject to
we're
this
not-
one reopening.
But there may be an opportunity if, in the future, for us to, whatever, because again, I think we just have to do it.
They need to know, because
And it's-
that's gotta be closed before you can start any construction.
And it's gonna-
You can't have that out there.
It's
in the way.
it's gonna, for 15, 20 people, however many we have out there, it's gonna be an inconvenience. But if we do it now, then we're gonna say, look, we're gonna give you at least 2 months, 90 days, whatever that is. I'd probably say 60, but.
June 1st?
Certainly, I would say 90 would be, generous, and then we send them a reminder.
Yep.
But don't you want them out of here by June 1st, because you're gonna be bringing stuff in?
Oh, you don't want them out there when we bring in equipment.
Exactly. I mean, how much work is gonna get started in June or July 1st? 'Cause you-
We'll really just start the site work, and back there it's kind of minimum, and actually with that building, they can come in the driveway on this side, they're just gonna drive through and drop it on the pad.
Okay, because there's gonna be people that you'll have a hard time getting them to actually move what's parked out here. So you gotta take that into consideration.
I would even be willing to say, if you're out within 60 days, well, you're gonna have to be out within 60 days. And as an incentive, shoot, just give them,
Last month free.
Yeah, give them a last month free or something, and to help them transition to something else,
Well,
whatever.
we'll get a notice,
We
and
need
we'll
to
do
get
it by
that.
certified
Yeah.
mail also to all those folks, and give them the notice.
Yeah, because if you're doing, might give you an opportunity to, once you get all those out, there's probably some grading or, some stuff that you'll need to do over here.
It's a great storage area.
Yeah. And then we can lock things down.
And also put the gate in.
And put the boat on display, we can do that. Somewhere.
Somebody just took it out.
A permanent place for the boat, I think would be nice.
Mr. Guy, do you have anything else?
Nope, yeah, we're finished.
Mrs. Flair?
Yeah, I have 2 things. Mr. Kraft, I would like to congratulate you on the birth of your daughter last week.
Hey,
Oh,
congratulations.
yes.
That was all for you.
That was easy.
So that explains your eyes.
Yeah, are you getting much sleep?
No, unfortunately, I'm very tired.
I'd like to say it gets better, but
Yeah, they have
Especially if
one
you
other-
have 4 of them, right?
Yeah,
Just
no.
figure that problem out,
Do
no?
you have know when the zoning public hearing is for those apartments yet?
No, they
No.
have not rescheduled it yet.
Okay, that was it.
Well, I did have one other one.
Go ahead.
We talked earlier, the workshop. Can we get some dates for having that workshop on the, with Russ Wire on assessment methodology?
He told me tomorrow that he would have a firm date, so let me get that from him tomorrow. And then I'll
As to
bring
when
some
he's
dates.
going to be done, but if he's saying the 3rd week of April, that's not that far away from now to be reserving the time we're gonna agree to do it.
And as soon as I have that date from him, I'll
You'll
send
get
some
something out to all of us so
dates.
we can get back to you with available dates. Right, great.
And with that, I don't have anything. We'll recess till 5:30 and we'll start the public hearing.